Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old England games and ask just how England was this.
Today, we're back for part 2 of our 1998 World Cup qualification special. Hoddle and co pack their bags and head to Italy with Ince ready for war and Gaza, hopefully, as good as before.
Time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me.
It's big drama.
I've got my fingers crossed. He's as good as before. Is he going to be?
I like the lads. I like the look of them. They look like they're up for it.
Yeah.
Are they?
Big fight.
Big fight.
Big fight feel.
Big fight, absolutely. Let's get into the time capsule.
Yeah. Speaking
I wouldn't usually zoom past all of the pleasantries, but that was too good a link. So let's ruin it by stalling. But big fight feel, you said?
Yes. I wonder what I'm going to put in here today.
Go for it. The year is 1997. We're trying to qualify for the World Cup 1998. What's happened?
Well, what's happened is Tyson v Holyfield 2.
Bang, bang, bang. Did you see what we did there?
We did it.
Big fight feel. A perfect, seamless link.
Yeah. And we'll do another one later, just as seamless, I'm sure.
So we actually broke the time capsule up into 2.
Yeah.
Because last time we did the first qualifying game between England and Italy. A lot of time has passed since then. I picked B here now for the time capsule. This is the away leg for England, and there's everything at stake. But to save time, first time round, we only did 1 time capsule. Here we are, second time round, and it's Tyson v Holyfield 2.
Yeah.
Another seamless link, 2.
Exactly.
Wow. I didn't have you down as a boxing man.
I'm not really, but this is such like a cultural thing that happened in this fight where it's just like it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I imagine on every single like SNL, any kind of topical talk shows, oh, did you see this? And it was just the biggest thing in the world, really. Was it? Even when whatever age I was here, I knew what had happened.
It's unforgettable. Particularly to Mike Tyson in terms of just...
and to Holyfield. I don't think he's going to forget it very quickly.
I suppose so, yeah. If you mention, although Tyson is the more prominent public figure in general, yes. I think, with his podcasting and everything like that. Come on the show if you want, Mike.
Have you ever listened to it?
No, well, I've seen it, but a bit of it. Yeah. I don't know if I could smoke that much weed.
He's just absolutely baked off his face for the entire time. I think I heard the Bill Burr
just
went
crying
on it, and Bill Burr was just like, "What the hell is this?" Like, because he was just like clean and sober, just coming onto this podcast, just going, "Well, this is like I'm in a den," and like, "What the hell? Like, is this recording?"
If you mention either man's name, I guess the first thing that comes up is this fight and the incident that defines it. I think. So 1997, I would have been about 6. I definitely remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that you never forget. Once you know this has happened, you never hear someone say, oh, it's like when Tyson beat Evander Holyfield's ear off, and you go, I forgot about that, actually.
Oh, he did do that, didn't he? Yeah.
It's just prominent.
Yeah, it's just full right there, and it is. So it happened on Saturday, the 28th of June at the MGM Grand Arena. Billed as the Sound and the Fury. This was a rematch from their fight from 7 months earlier in Vegas.
The Sound and the Fury.
Yeah.
Billing, right?
I assume the Fury is Tyson.
Well, I know, but why would Holyfield be the Sound? Is he a singer?
Maybe it was just like, the sound of... I don't know. I literally know very little about it.
It sounds big.
Yeah, it's the Sound v the Fury. I mean, anything else could have been better, really.
Yeah.
The Musk v the Fury. That's at least there, isn't it?
The wind versus the gravel.
Yeah, not brilliant, is it? I don't know what their first one was called, but either way, Holyfield went into the first fight as an underdog after returning to boxing in 1995. Holyfield won the first fight with a surprise knockout over the WBA champion to set up this rematch.
WBA champion. I don't know how much that means.
I don't know what it means at all.
No, but
full stop.
The UFC is great because of its there's one champion for each weight class, whereas
Yeah.
boxing is confusing and annoying because there's multiple champions and multiple belts across all different weight classes.
And I was watching, well, it was just on my feed the other day when Tyson Fury clearly got his wife to like, right, do a video of me. And it was him with like his 3 titles out calling out Joshua. And it was just like, have you made them at home yourself? They look terrible.
Some of them are really old though. Like some of the more illustrious ones are really old, and
But like WWE like updates theirs and they just kind of go, here's the new sexy one. It's got a spinner, it's flashes or whatever. But that one, those ones, honestly, it's just like he's gone down to like a toy shop and got them.
yeah. But don't you think there's something to be said for the really old ones maintaining?
If they look good, yeah. If they look like shit, then not really, no.
I don't know. But I, like you mentioned, Tyson Fury there, not the Fury or Mike
Or
Tyson.
Tyson, who are possibly the same person, who knows?
Yeah, so I think he holds 3 or 4 belts, and then no, I think he holds 1.
I think there was, well, he got 3 on. There was 1 on each shoulder and then a different colour one around his waist. And they all said, I think it was maybe even this one we're talking about now, the WBA one. We don't know.
Yeah, and then Alexander Usyk's got like 4, which he beat Anthony Joshua for. So it's always just like, instead of knowing who the big dog is, you go, well, who's got the most belts? He's got 5, or he's got 1 though.
Doesn't a magazine have one as
Yeah,
well?
the Ring magazine, which I think is one of Usyk's.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, should a magazine really have a belt that is taken seriously?
I was going to say, it's like in the UFC again, as a comparison with their BMF belt that they did once and was never used again. That's their only kind of foray into
That's
it.
so wrestling, that is.
It is. It was Nate Diaz and Masvidal, and it was just like they never used to put non-title fights as headline fights on cards, but this was so big. You
Yeah.
know, they were just like, we're going to have to do it. Put a title on it anyway. The bad mofo belt. These bad mofos, though, they went at it twice. And in the rematch, Holyfield won the first 3 rounds. So continuing his success from the first fight. Then the 2 fighters, there was a bit of a headbutting. There were pushes and lots of sort of non-boxing collisions. Both sides kind of playing dirty. Whether Tyson was the initiator and Holyfield was stooping down to his level, or whether they'd both gone in with that tactic, I'm not sure.
I think from what I vaguely read of it is that Tyson wasn't happy with what he perceived as Holyfield kind of like knocking into him and maybe being like, I don't know, maybe he thought he was just a diddery old man and he was just hitting into him or something. But he kind of took that as, well, he's playing dirty, time for me to do so.
And what did he do?
Well, during the 3rd round, Tyson came out of his corner without his mouthpiece on and was sent back by the official to put it in. And even with it in, Tyson then bit Holyfield's ear.
Well done.
Well done.
Lovely, lovely sportsmanly conduct.
If you're going to do that, I'm going to literally sink my teeth into your cartilage and rip it out. Yeah, he'd bitten 1 inch of his cartilage off Holyfield's ear, which he spat out in the ring.
He's a wild card, isn't he, Mike Tyson?
I mean, this is just one of many indiscretions that prove that. But yes, and it was just the biggest thing in the world, wasn't it? That fight had to be stopped automatically after what happened. And yeah, Tyson was disqualified and suspended from boxing.
Did he not face criminal charges? Surely.
I guess it's one of those things where you both put yourself into that. Was he only punched me in the face, but he bit me, so that's why I'm charging him.
Yeah.
It's not like a move outside of their skill set then is not allowed. It's within the confines of what they're doing, isn't it?
I don't know. So we could say we've agreed to box, so he's brought in a gun and shot me, but it was in the boxing ring.
Slightly different, but you know.
Slightly, but the principle's the same. It's a theoretical debate,
It is.
which I'm sure Mike Tyson would appreciate.
Yes, thank you, Hitchens.
Yeah, well, we've all heard about this over the years, and I guess we'll never forget it. Worthy of the time capsule. I don't know when we're going to crack that one out and enjoy it when we're hovelled up while the incident happens outside.
Yeah, when we're on our island, we can just go, oh, should we watch that then? Yeah, all right then. Oh, God, he's here.
Yeah, we could be like, look, we've been on this desert island, and
You've stolen my bit of the Premier League.
we've had our ups and downs, but we've never got this bad.
Yeah.
we've not got along as badly as these two men.
I think that's a 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You're well into the beers.
Yeah.
Oh, man, stick the ear on.
yeah. Oh, there it is. He's done it.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Watch it again. Right, back to the Premier League.
He's definitely Tyson. That is definitely somebody who has matured as he's got older. Because he's done a one-man show, I think that was on HBO a few years ago, and that was really interesting to watch.
Was it good? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, with the stuff like you talked about the podcast as well, there's some bits on there and you're like, he's just a completely different person. Like there's one clip of him and he was just in tears, just going, I can't believe that like what I used to do was just hurt people. He's like, if I could just change it, I would, because it's just infected like every part of me, which I'm like, okay, that's quite a big thing to come to terms with. But also, you're just really high.
I was going to say you are off your tits as well at this point. It's like you are in this hot box, and like you've got everyone around you just passing drugs to you. It's like, oh, you know what? I used to kill people, basically.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's normal to think that. Maybe I guess
it seemed to genuinely upset him. But then again, was he just upset high? I don't know. I don't want to question him anymore. Actually,
like you say, yeah, we've said his name far too many times for it to appear in some algorithm for one of his lackeys to be like, yeah, these guys, get them next.
Let's move on then.
Yeah.
Today's game, as we've mentioned, is Italy versus England. It's a World Cup qualifier from 1997, October 1997. That is. This is a sequel. This is a two-parter episode, and it's part 2 of that. So we're on the home straight. So that kind of covers why this game. Listen back to last week.
Yeah.
Gives you all the context that you need. Just as a bit of updated context, I guess, if you're just coming into this one, England need a result.
A result, yes. Just anything positive, basically. A loss means bad things, basically.
Yeah. Before we do get to the game, and before we get even further into the football part of the show, actually, give us a 5-star review on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to the show on. Get in touch with the show if you like at isthisenglandpod@gmail.com, or follow us on social media at isvis_England. Onto the football.
Onto the football and the state of football as we find it today.
Yes. So on the day of the game, Arsene Wenger's Arsenal are top of the league after 10 games. And interestingly enough, there was that famous incident with Arsene Wenger when he bit off Alex Ferguson's ear.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember that? Oh, that was a sad sight.
I know.
It took him ages. It was really tough.
I know, the dignified man as well, like a big bit of gristle.
Now, the Arsenal are top of the league after 10 games, and they've just thumped Barnsley. They've just thumped Barnsley 5-0. Bottom of the table, Barnsley.
Well, they certainly are now after that.
Yeah, that's not going to help, is it? Amongst the scorers, we've got Dennis Bergkamp, who got 2 goals and an assist that day. Ian Wright, Ray Parlour and David Platt are also amongst the goals. This is kind of the start of Wenger's first really, really great, iconic Arsenal team, led kind of by Bergkamp and supported by Overmars and Anelka.
The disgustingly quick duo, really. Either side of Bergkamp as he just threaded them through. They were a brilliant side.
There was a name there, Parlour.
Ray Parlour.
Did he ever have much of a stab at the England?
I think he got a couple of caps. I want to say like 10 or something. And around this time, he was emerging into a really serious player. But I think just that England midfield is so clustered, especially around this time. Maybe under Keegan, he could have got a bit more of a go, because he kind of had, by the time Keegan comes around, Ince isn't really what he was, and everyone's kind of out of sorts. Where Parlour's kind of really coming into his own, actually.
10 caps, you were absolutely spot on.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, he's doing the job for Wenger, but they aren't unchallenged at the top of the Prem.
No. As on the day of the game, they're currently 1 point ahead of champions Manchester United, but Wenger's men would end up winning the title with 3 games to spare, following one of the great Premier League moments with Tony Adams running through on goal against Everton to thrash home the defining goal of the season.
Black, on goes right. And Muriel with 2 good defensive headers from the goalkeeper. Hutchison. Now Bold. And it's Tony Adams put through by Steve Bold. Would you believe it? That sums it all up. Arsenal, awesome. The cream of the crop.
Big tone.
Big tone, big commentary from Tyler as well. I absolutely love that, the way he does it and just kind of stretches it out. You hear the roar in his voice, the crowd, and it just kind of capped off the win. It capped off everything that this generation, well, this new team had really meant as Wenger tried to build it in his own manner. They were tough, they were quick, they were brilliant on the ball. And And that goal kind of like sums it all up, really. And, you know, as Tyler said, that sums it all up. You got Steve Bold kind of chipping the ball over the Everton back line. Tony Adams starting the move, runs onto it, controls it with his gut as he kind of like sticks it out and just thrashes it home with his weaker foot is incredible.
It's incredible to think that. I don't want to put Tony Adams down.
Yeah.
But Wenger is a very sort of philosophical football manager and very cultured.
And it had a big impact on Glenn Hoddle, as we discussed last week as well.
But he's happy to stick with Adams as his captain, who seems a more of a traditional English player, should we say?
Yeah, and I think when he inherited the Arsenal side, he didn't have to even touch the back four. That's one of the big positives from the George Graham era and Bruce Rioch as well. That back four, 5 included Seaman, he just went, yeah, don't need to worry about that. You guys defend. I'll just sort the rest of the team out and, you know, actually get them fitter. Like he prolonged Adams' career. You know, he didn't really have Ian Wright for very long, but, you know, the rest of that back four as well, he probably got an extra 4 years out of them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You mentioned Ian Wright there. So it's the start of an era. It's the start of the first great Wenger team. It's also the end of an era because Ian Wright, this would be his first and last league title. He knew he was leaving at the end of the season following Nicholas Anelka's arrival.
Yeah, it must have been looking at looking at the ghosts of Christmas past and future at the same time for Wright, kind of seeing how the team would evolve and look without him in it. But you've also got a sleeker, quicker, younger you playing up front in Anelka.
Maybe that's why he became such a nice man. Well, he was always a nice man. But
yeah,
maybe this helped. You know, he had that Christmas Carol moment.
Yeah, and maybe just a bit of closure as well. Because after winning the league, after all this time as well, you just think actually, he doesn't retire. He moves on to West Ham after this, and I think he may even play for. I want to say he maybe played for Burnley and Celtic, so he still like went around for a bit, but this was really his last big shot.
Yeah, and one of his last big shots would be to break Arsenal's all-time scoring record, famously lifting his Arsenal shirt above his head to reveal a T-shirt underneath that reads 179, just done it, with a Nike symbol.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And when he does score that goal to reveal the shirt, it's actually his 178th goal for Arsenal.
What a prat.
So
what's he done?
So that's wrong straight away when he does it against Bolton. In the same game, though, he does get another goal to then break the record and reveals the shirt again. So it's back to being correct. He then scores his hat-trick goal, which then makes the shirt incorrect again. So pure Ian Wright, this.
Well, do you think he ruined the moment with the first one? I think the fact he got a hat-trick makes it really funny.
Yeah.
But like,
if he hadn't have scored that goal and he'd have revealed it, because I think he'd been on a bit of a run where he'd not scored and all this kind of stuff. So you go, actually, if he hadn't got those other 2 goals, would that have been like, well, you've not just done it? And like today, it would have been just horrible in terms of just like, oh, you prick, what have you done and all that. But doing it like that, kind of like he's made a little bit of a fool of himself, but he's had the last laugh and everyone loves it, is just so him, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. He did get a little bit of revenge as well when he would get his league champions medal against one Roy Keane.
Yeah, so when he's receiving his medal on the presentation day, he could be seen with his medal shouting into the camera, Roy Keane, because Roy Keane had said that Ian Wright's a good player, but he's just got a load of runners-up medals at home.
They're good pals now, aren't they?
I think so. I think it was always like good-natured. I don't think Keane and Wright ever really had like massive fallings out. And I guess as soon as you stop playing, kind of all those other little petty arguments you had with people kind of start to fade away, really. Like you hear about all the old days when players used to go to England and it's like, well, we didn't get on with him and him and him and all that. And then you just go, well, afterwards, it's just like, well, it was a bit stupid, all that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
I wish we could do it again and not argue.
And not be idiots and ruin England's chance for tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, take note, guys.
Yeah.
Guys of the future. Other news from this round of fixtures that sort of lead into today's game include Patrick Berger scoring a hat-trick as Liverpool beat Chelsea 4-2 at Anfield. Teddy Sheringham scoring his first home league goal for Man United. And Benito Carbone and Paolo Di Canio point Everton to the sword in a 3-1 win at Hillsborough for Sheffield Wednesday. These Italian lads, though, were getting nowhere near their national side, who were chocked full with some of the best attacking talent in the world. Nice few names to hear there. Patrick Berger.
Patrick Berger scoring a hat-trick at Anfield as well. That's all very 1997 in it. I can almost see the flash in front of me of Premier League years.
Yeah, and the Carlsberg on the shirt.
It was cold, but they had a big, I think they had a collar on the shirt maybe around that time. They had like a V-neck around then too, but I think that was the collar era, I want to say.
I used to really like Patrick Berger. I used to just watch any football that I could and always support the English sides, and just he had a mean shot on him.
He did. He had long hair. He was foreign. That's interesting, back in the day.
We couldn't have Nedved, but we could watch Berger.
We've so got like the little Nedved at that point. Like a fine player in his own right, but it's just kind of wanted Pavel Nedved when you open it on Christmas Day. You've got Patrick Berger.
Oh, it's Patrick Berger.
Oh, he's Czech. You like him, don't you?
Yeah, he is. He's Czech, yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at the build-up to today's game then. So a little bit of a recap on last time. The big story, really, was Glenn Hoddle's gamble of playing Matt Le Tissier.
Yeah, it was Le Tissier's big gamble, as you say. It didn't pay off last time as he started at Wembley after his brother Carl had ruined the surprise for everyone.
Yeah, well done, Carl.
Well done again.
I know, you've spoilt my big day. Do you think he did it out of spite, actually? I didn't think of that at the time.
No, I think he just couldn't keep his stupid mouth shut, if I'm honest.
There we go.
Yep.
I'll cut that out, don't worry.
Edit. And that loss, actually, to Zola's goal was England's first ever home World Cup qualifying defeat.
Yeah.
Just amazing, really. It sounds that long.
It is that long. It's mainly not losing in qualifying, though, isn't it? Because we've only played a handful of World Cup games there, and we won the World Cup in that year. And then the first time I read it, I was like, wow, England didn't lose any sort of World Cup game at Wembley until then. I thought, well, there's not many World Cup games. They're mainly against Finland, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's when they've won it, and then when they just beat Moldova every couple of years, really.
Yeah. And don't forget, we've lost our fair share of home nations games over the years.
Yeah, and it doesn't include Euro qualifying and all that. But, this specific record was unblemished until the Italians came and played really well. And England kind of lacked a lot of creativity. I think we thought at the time they were really putting the effort in, lots of crosses, as we kind of said, and then it's just a case of just didn't find that touch. And
it was an experimental team with one big gamble in a key position, and it was pretty much ineffective.
Yeah, I think he does all right in the game, but never to any point do you think, okay, next time he'll get it right, because he never wins another England cap.
Yeah. But after that, Hoddle goes away, looks at the defeat, and looks at what he can do to change it. Because England need to qualify for this World Cup. They haven't qualified for a World Cup since 1990. They've had a fantastic tournament at 96, really, igniting the flame of international football love in England. And they need to build on that. And I think Hoddle thinks, maybe not Matt Le Tissier then.
Yeah.
And he looks towards the younger players, really, and starts to make this team really his own.
Yeah, Hoddle goes electric at this point, doesn't he? He just decides, you know what, I'm gonna try something different, and starts to bring in the new players who were coming into the side that really lit it up.
I think he did try and look at the mistakes or the missed opportunities that a couple of the previous managers had, and thought, I'll make this work.
Yeah,
nobody would use Le Tissier, I'll do that. Maybe I'll give Ian Wright this starring role and things like that. And he's just gone, it's just going to work out the way it is, but it has to be my own now.
I think because the only thing with Le Tissier as well is you think that could he not have done that in a different game? I'm pretty sure in qualifying, maybe the one before, there's a game where Shearer's injured or he's suspended or something. He doesn't play. And I think Sheringham and Ferdinand both start. And it's like away. Again, it may be a Moldova or something like that. And you just think that's the time really to experiment and bring him on or start him or something. To do that in such a big game at home, that's such a big gamble. And when it doesn't work, he just goes, well, that does not work. Put him in the bin. And you kind of understand that. But to be that brave and a bit foolish to do that as well.
Yeah. In the aftermath of that game then, that was February 1997, sort of late March, England welcomed Mexico to Wembley, giving debuts in that game to Nicky Butt and David James. There's your brave new era.
Yeah, David James.
We all remember, imagine what comes next with those two. I'll tell you what, nothing but glory. He also brings back Martin Keown, so steadying the ship there. Friendly is notable for featuring Robbie Fowler's first England goal and England winning 2-0. The other goal, Teddy Sheringham. England then dispatched Georgia 2-0 in April before recording another friendly win, this time over South Africa. That game is particularly notable for the debut of Paul Scholes. It's also Phil Neville's first cap in a year, and marks Ian Wright's first international goal for nearly 4 years. So
Since the impossible job.
wow.
That just kind of puts it all in. God, this is the link to Taylor's era, isn't it? That was the game when kind of Taylor left, and I think Wright scored 4 that day.
Yeah. God. Now you've said that. Now you've sent me down memory lane there. In May 1997, England beat Poland 2-0. This is back to qualifying. And that leaves them with 2 games left to secure top spot in their group. Obviously, the challenger for that top spot is Italy, who would beat Moldova and Poland at home, but drop points away in Poland, meaning that another error of theirs could see England overtake them. And it's all kind of set up very dramatically. And, you'd be looking at your calendar and thinking, today's game that we're covering is where it all comes to a head. And you'd be right to think that, really, but it had to be put aside for a little while.
Yes, because we've got a little thing called Le Tournoi.
Yes, that's right. Le Tournoi comes along, and we've covered that in the archive. So go and check that episode before you crack on. And if you have done that, then welcome back. Glory. It's glory.
Yeah, England are brilliant, aren't they, in that game? Really, really competitive.
Well, yeah, Le Tournoi, Italy is both sides are playing in Le Tournoi, let's just say. But prior to this game, it's England, Italy, France, and Brazil.
Yes, so it's those 4. It's kind of a warm up before France '98. Everyone plays, everyone wants, and kind of who wins just get a pointless, great trophy.
Amazing,
Yeah,
glorious silverware. But we've covered, as we mentioned there, the Italy-England game in that. Talk us through that, Nick. What are your thoughts all these weeks and months later after covering that?
Yeah, it's a very real and competitive game, as we've said. But England win 2-0. Ian Wright, Paul Scholes, and Paul Ince probably the standouts, really. I was not surprised, but I was quite happily delighted that England are really good in that game. Their passing is really crisp. They're defending well. Lots of movement around and kind of little triangles. And you can start to see they're being coached really well. And you start to see little bits of that come up. And England end up going on to win the whole of Le Tournoi as well.
Yes, we do. That was our introduction to Hoddle and kind of prompted this trip then, this double Italy World Cup qualifying show.
Lovely thing. Is it? That was our gateway Hoddle.
Yeah, that was our gateway Hoddle, and it was good.
Yeah.
So England would beat France in the next game after that, Le Tournoi, and lose to Brazil in the dead rubber game. But it doesn't matter because we got the gold.
It's so un-England, that is, isn't it? To just get the business done out of the way against major teams. Just go, we lose that one. It's fine.
Prior to England and Italy's Le Tournoi clash, a lot was made about which team would show more of their hand ahead of the final group game. So, our England, they're both kind of scoping each other out, aren't they? It's like, this is a precursor for a more important game, even though silverware's on the line in Le Tournoi.
And kind of like, you don't really know how it's going to line up yet because Italy are still in the driving seat at this point. Yeah. So they kind of think, well, and they didn't really want to be at Le Tournoi from memory. Either they were a bit annoyed to be there, but also like, well, who's going to kind of blink in terms of, are they both going to show that, they got the same teams as the last time? Are they going to change it up? And Maldini played pretty much a full-strength side, and Hoddle experimented with the new players and actually beat the established team.
That's a power move.
A power move, and must be confidence in his players and himself that what he's doing is good. Because, like, look, lads, you've gone out and beaten those who have just beaten you at home for that next big game. Why shouldn't you think you can go on and qualify for the World Cup in first spot?
Well, they put themselves in a good position to do just that. After picking up gold at Le Tournoi, England, as we mentioned, have 2 games left of the qualifying campaign. And they would go top with a 4-0 win at home to Moldova with one of those. The following day, Italy could only draw with Georgia. Meaning that it does, in fact, as everyone kind of predicted it may, go down to the final game between England and Italy. Nobody would probably have predicted that England would go into that on top.
No, not after the game at Wembley either. It was just seen as, right, well, England are probably going to have to go to Italy and win. Now, the scenario is they need to win or avoid defeat if they want to qualify automatically.
Yeah, if they lose, it's the playoffs.
Yeah, the dreaded playoffs. We've already seen what's happened in Scotland once, haven't we, when we did that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to the jeopardy of that, there were no seedings or protection for higher ranked nations. So whoever fails to qualify today would go on to play one of Ukraine, Russia, Republic of Ireland, Belgium, Hungary, Yugoslavia, or Croatia. You wouldn't really fancy any of those.
No, yeah, not the easiest draw, especially Yugoslavia, who got a brilliant team around that time, and Croatia, who would actually qualify for the World Cup and end up finishing third overall. So you'd have hated to have played them.
Or a Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, I don't think Jack's there at this point. I think Jack may have left. Oh no, I think this is his last qualifying round from memory.
So we're heading into the game now. It's Italy versus England, Saturday, the 11th of October, 1997. It's the final World Cup qualifier at Stadio Olimpico in Rome.
I'm ready.
Yes, a lot of tension. I think a lot of fear
Yeah,
from England. I think you can see they haven't qualified for World Cup in a little while. They did well at Euro 96, but they came up short against a traditional, massive giant of international football. And it could just happen again. Why wouldn't it?
I don't remember us covering a game outside of a tournament that felt this big when you were looking at the coverage, and I was reading stuff about it beforehand as well. And even when they're on the pitch, it just feels like a tournament game, and it feels like it's deep into a tournament as well. It's that the tension in the ground is you can feel it through the screen.
I don't think there's anything possible to compare it to.
No, going away to a team like Italy, and if you don't go through, I know you playoffs, you could still go through there, but it almost feels like, God, you're out almost, you're gone.
Yeah. We're going to have a look at the lineups then. For England, in goal, we have David Seaman. Three at the back, Sol Campbell, Gareth Southgate and Tony Adams. The midfield is kind of flanked by fullbacky, wingery types of David Beckham and Graham Lasso. The midfield stirred is provided by David Batty and Paul Ince. And then we get to the creativity with Paul Gascoigne playing off Ian Wright and Teddy Sheringham. On the bench, we have Ian Walker, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Nicky Butt, Steve McManaman, Paul Scholes, and Robbie Fowler. No Alan Shearer. I did not expect that.
Yeah, no Alan Shearer. He's absent from today's game due to an ankle injury he picked up in July of 97. He'd go on to miss 33 games for Newcastle this season, and the injury is seen as the point where Shearer stops becoming the world-beater, can-do-everything footballer striker and becomes more like the prolific target man that we'd kind of see him in his second half of his career, really.
Considering England are in a position of strength, so to speak, being top of the qualifying table, that is, David Beckham, a wing back when you've got Gary and Phil Neville on the bench as well. He's not really shying away, is he? I think his tactic might be let's go out there and try and beat them.
I think so, yeah. He's definitely not playing safe, I don't think. I mean, Gary and Phil Neville, you'd imagine one of them playing in Beckham's position. He could work. We've seen both of them do it very well, but David Beckham with that bit more creativity, maybe he's learnt the role a bit better as well during this period. Interestingly, the Tournoi game, we saw Phil Neville play wide right, and in the second half, Gary Neville. And David Beckham actually played in central midfield to kind of add that bit of creativity, which we thought England were missing in that first game too.
Yeah, absolutely. Gascoigne, though. I'm shocked to see Gascoigne in there as well.
Yeah. Probably the other big call is for Hoddle is bringing in Gascoigne and not Paul Scholes. And Scholes, we said, had played so well. I think he'd scored twice for England so far and really shone in that Le Tournoi game.
I was going to say, yeah, he'd put the fear of God into them then.
Yeah.
Gascoigne, I mean, I'm just shocked for reasons that would be spoilers.
Yeah,
that he's in such a huge game ahead of the World Cup.
I think as well, because you're never quite sure what period Gascoigne this is either. Like kind of after Euro 96 for England, you kind of feel like he fades away quite quickly. But here he is right now in the starting lineup. Hoddle trusts him to play. And like you say, in such a big game too.
Yeah, David Seaman's back in goal for Ian Walker, who deputised for Seaman back at Wembley, which was quite a surprise from that one. I mean, it was a needs must scenario, but still.
And he was injured, as we found out in the game as well.
He was injured himself, yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention as well, actually, Paul Ince is the captain.
Yeah, Alan Shearer is the standing captain for England, but it goes to Paul Ince tonight, who takes the armband, not to Tony Adams, interestingly, who had previously been the England captain before Shearer.
And he's Arsenal captain.
And he's currently Arsenal captain, yeah.
I don't know where Ince was playing at this point and whether he would have been captain.
I think he may have come back to England around this point. He'd not long left it. I think in the first game, he is in Italy still. Now we're in a different season. I think he's playing at Liverpool.
Ah, I see. Well, let's hope he's got a heroic performance in him. Up front, we have Ian Wright and Teddy Sheringham. Again, that feels sick. Just because Shearer's not in there, I think it's hard to see a front line without him from this year and think anything other than that's second rate. Like, that's not what you want.
Yeah, I totally get that. These two did do very well for England in that Le Tournoi game as well. Wright was so busy. Sheringham, I think, less impressive, but always linking the play well. And as everyone always said, a really smart player, Sheringham.
Should we move on to Italy?
Yes, let's move on to Italy. Their lineup is Angelo Peruzzi in goal, Angelo Di Livio, Alessandro Nesta, Alessandro Costacurta, Fabio Cannavaro, and Paolo Maldini as kind of a back five with Maldini captaining the side. In midfield, Demetrio Albertini, Dino Baggio, and then up front, Gianfranco Zola, Christian Vieri, and Filippo Inzaghi.
They've kind of matched England there, really.
Yeah.
More of a defensive back five than England's.
You'd say so, but then you look at that front three. I think in the first game, I think it was Di Matteo who played, and then Zola and Casaraghi played up front as well. So that's two new strikers with your kind of striker then playing behind them. So they've gone for three up front basically because they need to win today.
3 changes from the first leg at Wembley as well. Christian Vieri, Filippo Inzaghi, and Alessandro Nesta are brought in.
Not bad, that is it. Just to bring those three in is such dominance.
Well, we've brought Gascoigne in.
Yeah, we've got Gazza in. What more do you want?
Yeah, no, that is obscene. A quick word for the bench. Where you've got Del Piero, Enrico Chiesa, Panucci, and you just
Di Biagio, Fuscia, Pagluca. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I didn't realise as well, Paolo Maldini here is winning his 82nd cap for Italy.
That's good going.
Insane for 1997. I, for some reason, kind of lump him in as like kind of being the same age of like a Cannavaro or a Nesta, but he really is not. I looked and he was first played for Italy in 1988, so he played during Italia 90. Which is just, I was like, oh my God, he's getting on here, isn't he? But
he's getting on. He carries on for ages after this.
I think he was still playing in like 2007 or 8 or something, I think. Not for Italy, but I think he was playing for Milan at that point.
I kind of see Donnarumma as an under, what's the word? He's played a lot of games already for a young lad.
Yeah.
He's got 46 caps for Italy, which again doesn't seem to even match up anywhere near Maldini's record by this point.
I know. I mean, he must break it at some point. Donnarumma mustn't.
Oh, he will. He's only 23.
23.
He's literally been playing for years.
Isn't
He's been
it?
playing since 2015.
Yeah. I think he came on in a game for Milan and he just never left. Basically,
Crazy. He must have been about 16.
Yeah, he was really, really young. I remember when it happened because it was like, oh, this lad's got a chance and basically he's going to stay here forever and then move to PSG.
Yeah. Fair play to him. Best of luck to him. Nat. Let's have a look at the coverage then. The streams we found. We see a bit of ITV coverage.
Yeah, we get some strange coverage. When I kind of turned it on, we're greeted with like a little montage of the England team scoring goals and all that. Like, it's quite weird players.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Sheringham really giving it some and like maybe David Batty doing a celebration. And it ends with Ian Wright. Kind of, I think it may be from the South Africa game that we talked about in the friendlies, and he's but the music over it is like Jerusalem, but it's their own remixed version from the 90s, and it's just like this, like something the international match. I think the ITV call it.
Yeah. Well, we get we're welcomed by Venables and Barnes in the studio.
Yeah. I think it's Bob Wilson's presenting, and then we've got Venables sat there in, he's looking very kind of like puffed up, and then Barnes is just relaxed, check suit shirt anyway, and all that, and it's just like, he's just laid back. Venables ready to just let rip.
I mean, John Barnes looked very cool.
Yeah, he looks very thin as well, doesn't he?
Very thin, yeah.
I think he may still be at Liverpool at this point, or he may have just left. I think he's at Newcastle. Maybe he had a weird spell at Newcastle. And I think he went to go and manage Celtic. And it's just like, okay, that's just what you used to do back then. You just finish playing and you just walk into the Celtic job.
Just take massive gambles.
Yeah, well, I guess you've got Gerrard and Lampard have done that recently, haven't they?
They're more gambles for the club.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Well,
know what I mean?
well I
Like, for
think it would
Barnes-
turn out to be a big gamble for Celtic when they employed Barnes as well. I think he was no good.
Who have we got on comms?
On comms, we've got Brian Moore, who I always love hearing, and Ron Atkinson,
Who
surprisingly.
I always love hearing.
Yeah, on certain subjects.
Yes. Mainly no subjects.
Yes.
Let's get to the game then. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
How's your nerves?
Not good.
Yeah. It has the air of this is a classic tragic England night.
Yeah.
I think so anyway.
Yeah, I think when it's all set up of like England only need a draw.
Yeah.
I know you kind of like, well, you don't know whether to stick or twist. Is it good that he's going slightly attacking? Should he have been a bit more, restrictive in terms of that? But yeah, it feels massive, this game.
A few big calls as well as we've said, and it's
And
just,
one's already backfired against Italy before.
yeah. Oh yeah, they've already thank God we had that Le Tournoi, or else I'll just be absolutely stressing. Italy start quickly, create some good opportunities, but no sort of real actual chances. England managed to come through that early period unscathed, but someone who doesn't is Paul Ince.
Yeah, 10 minutes in, and Ince has already got some colour, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He goes up for a challenge with Albertini, comes back down after being hit by the Italian's elbow, and he has to go off with a towel, like on the side of his head, to stop the bleeding, and he requires 3 stitches.
Well, we won't see any more of him, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll be off. I wonder who he's going to bring on. This would be the next big thing. Maybe Paul Scholes can come on.
Maybe, and just hold it all together.
Yeah, but he goes off and he kind of doesn't want to come off, but this is the days of no, you've got to literally get stitched up, and there's already blood down his shirt as well, seconds after this incident.
Imagine that, though.
It just wouldn't happen today either, would it? Like, you would never get like a player with a head injury like that, and he's going, I'm fine to carry on.
I don't understand with the head injuries as well. It's like, imagine, like, because you can't excuse yourself from going fully into headers, defensive or attacking. I mean, look at like Raul Jimenez at Wolves.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, he must. I know he's like worked really hard to overcome his injury, and he does go, fully committed, but surely he must be thinking,
Look at like Petr Cech, what happened with him as well. Like, he always wore his head protection afterwards, even if he said it kind of became like a crutch to him to just feel secure when he was on the pitch, which is all good. But right here now, Ince isn't even allowed to play. And while he's receiving treatment, England keep the ball so well. So they are under no pressure whatsoever while they're down to 10 men. And you actually wouldn't realise they're down to 10 men either.
it's all this fancy playing out from the back. Don't like this Glenn Hoddle anymore.
I know, yeah. What's he done to our beautiful game?
Keeping it. Just hoof it. Get yourself, invite the pressure.
The more you've got the ball, the more you're going to lose it.
That's exactly right. Just kick it to them and let them run at you.
And you just stand back and you head it away.
Yeah.
And that's you doing your job being English, is you heading the ball away.
When they're really close to the penalty area, panic then and dive in.
Yeah. Think about it later. Head first and kick it first.
Wright kind of playing up front on his own, because I'm guessing Sheringham was kind of just going, yep, I'm the more likely one to kind of win the ball from deep. You run onto any passes that I might be able to get through.
Yeah, and actually just keep the ball. He was always a nice passer, Teddy Sheringham, and maybe that was a role for him in the team today as well. By you've almost like snuck another midfielder in there.
Yeah.
By just saying, well, like, he can link the play, and he pretty much does drop back into the midfield while Ince is off too.
Another England midfield man, he's really giving us a strong impression of himself.
He is, yes. From the first minute of the game, Gaza is truly on it in this game.
I was shocked.
Yeah, and just he looks so motivated. I think we talked last time about motivated McGregor for some reason.
Yeah.
This is motivated Gaza. Like, it's almost like he's been put on like a regime of like, you've got to be fit for this game, and we need you to do this.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look in the best shape of you could imagine.
He's
an
a
athlete.
shape.
He's a shape,
But
yeah.
like almost kind of like he's been focused maybe on this and maybe Hoddle's got the best out of him because
he's mentally there.
Oh, definitely. But even like he never gets shown up in the game of like, oh, well, he's lost that bit of pace, or they've just walked past him. He is everywhere. His passing's really good and simple, and you still kind of see that last bit of kind of the body movement from Gaza, like he receives the ball and kind of like to his side passes it on. And like runs after it and shakes the player off, swiveling like he's on a 5-a-side pitch almost.
I think it's the occasion, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's such a lover of narrative.
Yeah.
Whether he knows it or not, if there's an opportunity to kind of write himself into the history books, that's what really gets him pumped up.
I think we mentioned it before as well. He's kind of like the antithesis of Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was there week in, week out, doing well for England, and probably doesn't get the respect he deserves. compared to a Paul Gascoigne, who was there for the big occasions, but maybe week in, week out, not let England down, but maybe just wasn't there and wasn't available enough for the everyday stuff they needed at times.
It looks like Hoddle's gamble, and I'd say it is a gamble to play him. He's paying off early doors anyway. Who is he playing for at this time, actually, Gascoigne?
So he is at
Rangers.
I think he's at Rangers around this point. Yeah.
God.
So he was brilliant at Rangers. He really is like excelling, and the Scottish League isn't like the highest level in the world, but it was a good level around this point still.
And he gets a bit of a nice reception, actually, from the Italian fans as well. Let's not forget his time in Italy.
Yeah. He used to play at this ground for Lazio as well. He didn't learn much Italian, but he was a regular guest on Channel 4's coverage of the Italian football in the early 90s. They should really delve back into that fetishized period a little bit more because we just don't hear enough about it.
Are you insinuating that there's podcasts dedicated to rewatching all of those? Because that'd be a good idea.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, watch all that stuff. I'm sure James Richardson's got another thing in there, has he? I think he does one called, it's called Golazzo, I think it is. And it's part of the Totally Football, whatever thing.
If we started that podcast, we could have no qualms if he just goes, well, actually, I'm going to do that one.
Oh, we'd be the Widdicombe.
We'd be the,
Who is it?
The Beckett.
Beckett, sorry, yeah. We'd be the Beckett.
Stealing.
Yeah.
Thieving.
Copyright.
Copyright. Is Paul Ince right, more like?
Oh, he is right. And he's right back on the pitch.
He's right back on the pitch.
10 minutes he was off. England were down to 10 men. And he comes back on. He's got kind of that weird gel, like the weird, like the white stuff that's in his hair.
Isn't it just like Vaseline?
It may be just Vaseline, but it just always looks weird when it's on like a football. It's like, ooh, it looks horrible.
I don't know why they put that on like a cut.
I'm assuming it's because, well, I guess the plaster's there, but I guess that sticks it on and holds it together slightly. I mean, medical people will be able to like say that's correct.
Say a plaster.
Well, instead of like, I guess he can't have like a massive plaster on his head at this point. So you kind of go, well, maybe that kind of helps. But yeah, he's back on, and you kind of don't notice England have been down to 10 men at all. They've kept the ball well. They've even had some like ventures into the Italian area as well, and looked really stable.
Yeah, that's not a knock on Ince. That's just a nod to the management and the spirit of the team.
And how well they're coached as well, because surely they've had to. I think Hoddle at times, he made them train as if they had got 10 men. So when they were down to 10 men in case, it was a case of, well, we know what to do at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we'd famously go down onto... Actually, at some point in Hoddle's career, we'd famously go down to 10 men and didn't do too bad either, actually.
Not at all, no. So again, training for that kind of thing. I think Mourinho mentioned it as well, like really early on in his Chelsea career. He said, like, the game is going to go this way. This will happen. We will go down to 10 men. This was how we'll have to play, and we'll still win. So it's kind of like if you train for that stuff, it becomes second nature, and the players aren't panicked.
You may have seen a little smirk come across my face then. And I don't know why, but I started to get excited for the World Cup this year and thinking,
yes.
would you a red card in a big game?
Oh, was you really excited for that?
Oh, just the drama, isn't it?
Oh my God, you're one of those dishy people on Twitter. I just love the drama.
I'm like a Tory MP. I just love the pain and the punishment being inflicted upon me. Oh, yeah. You can imagine it, though, couldn't you, this year?
This year.
We've been good boys for a while in the safe gate. Time to get nasty.
And I do not want to have another thing of just like, well, you've let your country down again, like a Declan Rice or something.
We need to do like a World Cup predictions show.
Yeah.
Like really specific, because I think if we were to look back through the ones we've done so far, it would be our group is like Argentina, Holland, and none of those came true.
No, neither of those are. I think you'd say, yeah, we're due to play them, aren't we? I think even if we get through to the second round, I think it's likely to be France, I want to say.
Okay.
So, who knows what the witch doctors have got in store for us in that game.
A couple of players playing today, Campbell, Beckham, Ince and Adams, examples there. That I just thought of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
They all end up playing under Kevin Keegan in the Euro 2000 period. And how we've just spoken about the team keeping the ball really well while down to 10 men. Didn't really do that under Keegan with 11 men.
No, it's really odd, isn't it? Because you look at this team and the way England play here, and like almost like it's kind of like you see like the triangles that they play and popping the ball over and kind of like even just passing, even like passing and moving for each other. Just seemed like deserted when we've looked at those Keegan games. And this is 97. We watched those Scotland games and it was like 99 and 2000 for the Euro game. This is just like a totally different like. It's like the different players. I mean, Beckham especially, Beckham's kind of popping the ball over players' head, into feet, making runs, and that contrasts that to the Scotland game where he's a better player, but he's playing worse for England.
Beckham is one of the most famous footballers in the world by that point as well.
Yeah.
And you wonder whether a manager like Keegan was bad for him.
Well, yeah, but it's amazing because you look at it and think how good he was at his club side, and again, all those England players are still pretty good for their club side. I know they all got a bit older and such, but you just think, like, what happened in that period? Like, how have they gone from this being really comfortable? We're into half an hour of the game here, and England are so comfortable. Italy had a little bit at the start, but to hold their own in Italy, needing to save a point is. I mean, can you imagine that Keegan team going to this? It's just like England, like shame and all that kind of stuff would come back, wouldn't it?
Those 10 minutes when Ince was off, Keegan would be like, I'll fill in. It's fine. I don't want to leave the lad short.
He'd just subbed him off. He'd just been off immediately because there'd have been just no confidence whatsoever. And he'd have been like sweating bullets, pacing up and down the stadium.
The ref would be like, no, you can't just bring yourself on until he's had his stitches. Hey, it's a big night for us and nobody's spoiling it for these kids.
Just a referee coming over. Are you all right, Kevin? You look so stressed.
I'm fine. It's this Italian lot. Anyway, we're about 30 minutes in now. Italy are forced into a change when captain and son of the coach, Maldini, comes off and is replaced by Benarivo.
Yeah, it's just I think he's just injured in a bit of a tussle at some point, so they've already used one substitute, and that's
Curse of nepotism.
Yeah, exactly. We do get at this point as well a little glimpse into the petulant side of Beckham as well. He kind of pushes Delivio over when he's trying to take a throw in, and yeah, as we saw in the Tournoi game, he had a bit of a bite to him as well throughout that, and you just think he's got a bit of an underrated short fuse as Beckham, hasn't he?
I think it's kind of well known, right?
Yeah, but I think more like you see it here, like pre anything else.
Yeah,
like we see in like a couple of games where he's never afraid to like push someone or get involved when he probably doesn't need to.
He's the big target man as his career progresses in terms of they'll just go for him because he's the most famous and that they already know who he is.
Yeah.
and what have you. But I guess he was just part of the team. I think if anyone, they'd probably try and wind up Gascoigne.
Maybe, yeah.
Yet Beckham is still getting wound up, even sort of passively.
But would Gasser even be like that wound up, do you think? If they were saying to him, he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And he'd probably be too like involved in the game to be like, well, this is my job now. Like he's going to be too focused on that. Beckham maybe is a bit more sentient to all that stuff and being wound up. And it's kind of like when you're watching a show and they just put a little storyline in and they mention something and you're like, okay, I wonder why they've mentioned that. And you just go, like watching these games, you kind of think, I see it a bit.
Do you think that they rated Beckham very highly and that's why they went for him, or knew about his short fuse, or do you think it just happened naturally?
I think it happens naturally because I don't think here when he pushes Delivio that it's even like, it shouldn't even really be a thing that he's put, but it's just like he tries to stop him taking the throw in and he just pushes him over. And the referee really, on another day, you go, maybe he just has because I think the referee handles the game well, actually. He doesn't there's a lot of hard tackles that go in the game, and he doesn't really go over the top in terms of, he's just showing his cards and whatever.
How do we even describe this? We see some crowd trouble.
Signs are getting encouraging, Brian, aren't they?
Well, you're always one to tempt Providence. I'm not. But it's after the first 5 or 10 minutes, it had to get better.
And I think this one could be, they're at it again.
I think there's problems here in the crowds. Away to our right, a long way to our right. Police with batons.
You do get the impression they relish that, don't you, the police?
Well, we didn't see what went on before it, but it's a miserable scene.
You do get the feeling they relish this, the police.
That is such an inflammatory thing to say, isn't it? Like, showing it, first of all, in all of its glory, and then comment on it. The police are loving this, aren't they?
It's the fact that, it's England fan. So basically what it is, we find out that there is a unofficial England fan base who have travelled over to
What's
Italy.
an unofficial fan base?
So I think by the sound of it, there's England trips where people are England members, and they've got a certain allocation of tickets. Somehow there is about 1,000 people who've gone over without the official tickets. But so I think what they've done is they've gone, right, anybody English, go through this door. I mean, what happens to them, who knows? But then you just all right, go through there. That's your bit of the ground, basically. So they maybe thought, well, maybe they're going to come over without tickets. Let's just put them all together so they're not mixed with Italian fans and causing trouble.
Jesus.
However, they're causing trouble with the police. And I think even Brian Moore says in the commentary, oh, well, no one knows who started that and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like throughout the game, every now and then, it cuts back and they're like, oh dear, like just like little comments just get nipped in, and it's like watching like two sets of ants attack each other, like two different types, and they just like swarm and like the Matrix, like they just go up into the air.
Yeah, it's wild. It's so 1997.
And the fact that they're showing it and commenting on it as well, and actually giving opinion, like Atkinson is doing as well.
Did you see that shot?
Oh, did you see him get hit in the head? Then someone should do something here. These police are out of control.
Oh,
He's got his fingers up, Ron.
It's England versus Italy, man. It's a magnet for this kind of trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe it's just England.
Yeah, actually, if anyone ever thought about that, maybe it's just England fans at points, isn't it? It's just like certain England fans at points anyway.
Back to the game. Italy managed to fashion themselves a chance, knocking the ball in front of the England penalty area. Tony Adams clatters Baggio, and Italy have a free kick in Zola land, according to Atkinson.
I'd love to go to Zola land.
It's usually territory, isn't it?
Yeah, but Zola land.
Land sounds much more fun than David. We're in David Beckham land.
Well, yeah.
David Beckham territory sounds like a place you don't want to go.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm just like Zola land is great. Like I could get on all the rides. It'd be like just popcorn everywhere. It'd be lovely.
The free kick is taken by Albertini and it hits the edge of the wall on Tony Adams' toe and drifts wide of Seaman's left post. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so like under the Sven era or something else. That so would have just ricocheted. Actually, in the Keegan era, let's be clear, it was just ricocheted and just flown into the bottom corner like via a satellite or something, wouldn't it?
You're not talking about that Luis Figo goal again, are you?
Oh yeah, the deflection. Yeah,
Oh, come off it. And now the camera guys don't really know where to put themselves. It's like we're paid to cover the game, but there is a massive fight, and that kind of trumps anything else.
Yeah, it's always between. It's like, we had the adverts in the first game, and whenever there was something not going on, it was like, oh, this book, have this, and the other pages and all that. It's basically whenever there's a throw in and like someone's just taking a while, they just go, look at the fight.
I think it's just a male thing, maybe, of like, even if there was something crucial, historic, and like era-defining happening, if a fight broke out, you're going to just turn that camera over there and watch that fight.
Yeah, massively. I think the only thing I'd look at more if there was a fight going over, if I'm safe, I'm inside and there's no way of that thing like seeing me.
Yeah.
The only thing that would actually draw my attention more is watching someone in like a massive lorry reverse into a space.
Yeah,
That to me now, I'm at the age where I'm like, right. Oh, this is great.
I bet there's some good videos on YouTube of that.
Just as well, you'd be at work of like, have you seen this outside? What's going on? Like, it'd be so much fun.
Everyone just looking out the window. And I'll tell you what.
And again, safe. I cannot stress enough to be safe from the fight or the lorry.
And with the fighting as well, I don't think I'd look that much if it was a professional fight.
Oh, no.
You want unprofessional fighting?
Well, there's a lot of that going on in this game in Rome tonight. There is so much going on. And the police have got like weird little blue helmets as well. Like it doesn't look like proper, because I'm used to seeing when England fans get in fights, the riot police. And it doesn't look like the riot police.
No, it looks like Del Boy has sold them this gear.
Yes, outside Nelson Mandela House.
Just imagine Rodney going, what am I supposed to do with these soppy bluettes, Del? Put them on, Rodney. There, look here, look, a diamond geezer.
We've done exactly the same as what the producer has done, and we've stopped talking about the game because this is far more interesting. Even though England are doing really well.
In a massive game.
Yeah.
And which does start to get a little sloppy. But as halftime approaches, a chance emerges.
Sheringham again. Gascoigne. Sheringham once again. This is a better England move again. Beckham. And it might come into Sheringham. Didn't quite hit it properly. Beckham! Oh, just over. That was a terrific England move. The best move of the game by far.
Oh, that was incisive. Good passing quality. Feeds him in. It's a pity in a way Teddy couldn't let that go past his body, but at least he's got the awareness to spot Beckham in, and he can't quite get over it. But that was great football.
And virtually the first time we've seen Beckham in a really forward position.
Oh yeah, that would have been. I'm not downbeaten that it didn't go in.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that it happened.
Yeah. Don't be too glad it didn't, worked. Just be glad you were there and you saw this. Yeah, it's a good chance for England, actually, and it's David Beckham.
It's David Beckham. It would have been pretty much a textbook Beckham goal. England play keep ball, as they're inclined to do under Hoddle, knocking it around Italy with some style. Beckham plays a 1-2 with Sheringham and receives the ball back, places it into the top corner, but it doesn't quite go in the top corner. It's just over. He's kind of the edge of the box. He's doing his shape, with his little arm bend and the free kick sort of pose that he does, but obviously the ball's in motion. Really good chance. Should he have scored?
You think for his ability, maybe, but kind of with the keep ball that England have done, I think you even hear it in the commentary where they're just kind of like, "Oh, isn't this nice? Oh, this is really good," and it's just like lovely to see and hear as well. And yeah, you kind of go, yeah, maybe he could have done better, but I think he tries to bend it through an Italian player as well into kind of like the wrong corner with the way he's running onto it as well. It's like he's going the keeper's far side.
And with that, we find ourselves at half-time.
Inside to Albertini. There goes the half-time whistle. England on course at the moment with Glenn Hoddle. A draw would be enough, remember, but you fancy there are many more dramas yet to come. At half-time then, here in the Olympic Stadium in Rome, in this vital qualifying game for the World Cup, Italy 0, England 0.
Okay. Well, this is actually the result that we need.
So far.
Yeah, and minimal jeopardy other than a free kick.
Yeah, free kick. They had a bit of pressure early on. Lots of kind of similar to what England had done in the first game. Lots of crosses. Doesn't really come off too much. You haven't really seen Vieri or Inzaghi or any of like the Italian players you'd really fear getting on the ball and doing much.
Inzaghi, the fear of Inzaghi is that you never see him until he scores.
Yeah, he's kind of like this horrible ghost that's just always around, isn't it? Because I think Ferguson said he was born offside.
Yeah,
and all this other kind of thing. So you just think, yeah, he's always going to be there.
He's like. Do you remember the, I think it was the original, no, not the original Xbox, the Xbox 360.
I think I'm already out as a strictly PlayStation guy.
I feel like if we've talked about this before, excuse me, but that console, the Xbox 360, which was not a part-time console, it was like, this is the new, it wasn't like a stopgap. This is the new Xbox.
Right.
And it was brilliant for what it was, all the games and all of that, all of the tech, the graphics lovely, but it just had this thing where you turn it on sometimes, and it was a circle, which was split into 4 green lights, and sometimes those lights would be red, and when it did, it means that your Xbox was broken, you couldn't fix it.
Oh, red ring of death.
The red ring of death.
I think I do. I remember the phenomenon, but
and I'm just
never being first-hand having it.
First of all, that's like Filippo Inzaghi. It could happen at any time.
Yes.
And when it's done, it's already too late. Second of all, why did they include that feature? They just make these lights come on and fucking ruin it for everyone.
So you know what's happened. That's the point, is to know you need to fix this.
But I'm sure it was like done at that point.
But that's what I was saying. Oh, well, the car, why has it got a big warning sign?
But it wasn't a warning sign. It was a "this is over" sign. It's just like
fatality.
And it's like, where's the pre-warning sign? Where's like the 1 ring of death, like the 1/4 of a ring of death?
Yeah, like it was like a battery or something you had to charge up.
Yeah.
That's Inzaghi anyway.
That's Inzaghi. That's my analysis.
I like it.
Anyway, back to the studio at half-time. And what have we got there?
At half-time, we also get a very happy-looking Venables. He looks utterly perverted in this photo I've got. Well, I'm definitely sharing this on the socials, without a doubt.
You know what he looks like? He looks like he's just thought of a really hit melody.
I think he's just thought of a really filthy joke. Like
or maybe both.
Or like a limerick.
Yeah, like a limerick. He's like, you're going to love this.
I'll tell you what, when that camera's off, Bob, I am telling you sorry, John. He looks a bit like David Brent. He's got a bit of like an older Brent to him in this, because his hair's back and he's doing like the Brent like lip bite as well.
Yeah, sorry. I was having a sip of water and you nearly made me spit it out everywhere. The Brent... This is an audio podcast and we're talking about a picture. I know we'll share the picture, but still. Do you think he's happy about the game? Is that what's making him so happy, or is it limerick?
I think it's the filthy limerick, if I'm honest. He seems very impressed. They very quickly come to him and Barnes, and it's kind of like just one-word answers, right, back to the game, because we've got loads of adverts to fit in.
Yeah. A big plus for both of these guys were that David Seaman didn't have a shot to face, which is quite good.
Yeah, quite good, as they're just in the fear that he is just a big piece of meat with eyes, as we found out from what the Spanish thought of him.
The Spanish. Oh man, we've done too many of these episodes now. Who called him and why a big piece of meat with eyes?
It was after the Euro 2000 game with Portugal,
Yeah.
and there was a Spanish journalist that said that David Seaman he was less of a goalkeeper, more of just some meat with eyes.
I can just see the pepperoni.
Yeah, the pepperoni's back with the moustaches and the ponytail.
And during halftime, we are treated to the nominations for the esteemed hallowed turf of the crown of ITV Barclaycard Champions of British Sport winner.
Like, it's so difficult to just get through all that, wasn't it? It's such a long title for an award I'd never heard of.
What do you mean, the IBCP BSPW?
That's it. I know it now. Yeah, that one.
I mean, what do you think this award's for?
Just being a bloody good bloke, and it is only blokes because there's no women involved, obviously, because women's sport isn't a thing until the Olympics rolls around, basically.
So it's like Sports Personality of the Year, but for ITV.
But for ITV, they've done their own one because they don't get sports personality because that lives entirely on the BBC because it's BBC Sports Personality. So they've gone, okay, ITV, Barclaycard, yeah, they're sponsoring it, and it's the best British sport person.
I know it's like a thing, Sport Personality of the Year, but just don't try and copy it. Don't try and make your own. Like,
Yeah.
what's even the commercial value of that?
Barclaycard have got the name on it. I mean,
true, yeah.
I mean, the lineup is brilliant, isn't it? So we've got Ian Wright,
Yep.
Alan Shearer, Tim Henman, David Coulthard, and Prince Nazim Hamid. I mean, that absolutely timestamps this, doesn't it? Prince Nazim Hamid.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good list. Henman and Coulthard are both, well, to be fair, I don't know. Ian Wright and Prince Nazim Hamid are both very big personalities and the rest aren't.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to
definitely. There is someone else. I'm almost certain it's like a rower or something as well that's in the bottom right. But I was like, oh, I can't be bothered to look whoever this up. I'm only saying what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing is those people.
Yeah, I've tried to find out because, like you say, there was an extra person. I'm trying to find who they are, but I can't see it. I can just see pictures from the night.
There was an awards night.
Yeah, a conference actually. Samantha Beckinsale, actress, was attending it, and I could see a lovely stock picture of her that I could buy for personal use for £11.99.
Just the £11.
Or if I wanted to publish it in a magazine, it would cost me £47.99. Let's get a Patreon on the go for that picture.
Yeah.
Sounds weird, doesn't it?
No, yeah.
I don't think I know who won it that year.
No, well,
It's just saying right.
I'm going to guess Ian Wright.
Yeah, especially with that funny shirt caper.
Yeah, I mean that's he's above David Coulthard immediately for personality there, isn't he?
Yeah, I've been in the same room as David Coulthard.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Did he shine through his personality?
He did actually. Well, he just
Yeah.
kind of looked like he had more money than everyone else in the
Yeah.
room, just by the way he was dressed.
A bit of a presence. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah.
quite a tall bloke. You know, big head,
Big head.
big kind of like statue head.
Yeah, absolutely. Not met any of the rest of them, but if I did, I'd like it to be Tim Henman.
Really?
No,
Ian Wright, our
I'm
DMs.
joking. Obviously Ian Wright.
Ian Wright, our DMs are open.
We've talked enough shit.
Yeah.
We could have that was basically ITV's half time. We could have done that.
Yeah, easily.
Anyway, let's get back to the game. Italy make their second sub of the game at half time with Pippo Inzaghi coming off.
Yep.
No red ring of death today.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. We're playing on.
Yes, mom and dad don't have to buy a replacement Xbox until next Christmas, baby. And he's coming off for Chiesa of Parma.
Yes.
We spoke about his son and all that
Yeah,
before.
you love
haven't
it.
we?
You love his son, don't you?
Yes. I don't know what he's up to at the moment in the league, though. Probably after I predicted him to become one of the world's best, I imagine his form has fell off a cliff.
Yeah, he's probably. I think he's at Juve still at the moment, but I guess it's only weeks until they sell him to somebody else, isn't it? You just never know what's going on at Juve.
We also learned that Ince has had 3 stitches put into his head during the first half and had a further 2 put in at half time.
Just hard. I mean, I can't even imagine having one stitch.
know,
in.
yeah.
It's just like, you're going to do what to my head or any part of me?
Stitching,
No,
knitting.
I don't want any of that.
I know, like, we can't have 2022 years in, and you're stitching up cuts.
But it's like the other alternative is like you staple someone's head. I'm just like, ooh.
There should be one.
Is that worse or better?
There should be one that's better than both of those.
I don't think there is. This is like the best that we've got, especially this day as well.
Right, we really have spoken enough shit, and now really back to the game. England don't really play with a right-sided player. He's kind of an observation that we've made early on into the second half. Beckham is playing more in central midfield, and Big Sol Campbell is kind of just covering everything down that right-hand side. So there's no offense, but I tell you what, there's a whole lot of defense.
Yeah, and he really kicks into gear in the second half as well. Italy do start at periods to like pump the pressure up, but Campbell is outstanding from now on, really, and he's kind of playing that right back role. England kind of ended up playing with like a back four at this point, and every now and then Beckham will drift over to the right, but he wants to get involved in the play in the middle. But I almost think that's kind of planned, at least, of like, all right, well, we need more bodies in there with your Ince, and I think Batty as well, and Gascoigne. So England have got these really creative players and really hard players in there too, just doing the business at this point.
If you could pick one man to just cover that right-hand side on his own, it would be Sol. He's never thought of as a right back.
No, I think he plays under Keegan in those Euro games, doesn't he? And we were like, this is really strange. But I guess it was a bit more common around this time of like, actually, he's a young player, he's finding his position, but he's outstanding from now on.
England win a free kick, but that free kick is blocked by an encroachment. Shades of Taylor.
I know, yeah. Atkinson actually says, wouldn't this be poetic if the follow-up went in after Rotterdam? And it's just like, don't remind us.
Yeah, that's desperate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe what happened to us will happen for us, but 6 years later.
He's basically just going, I remember a thing.
Yeah. Sure you do, Ron. Well done. Brilliant performances, really. Let's take a moment as we kind of approach the hour. It does feel actually like England are going to do what's needed.
Yeah, I mean, to a man, they've been professional without being spectacular. Yeah, I say there's three centre-backs are strong and organised. The midfield, neat, technically sound, also hard in the tackle. Sheringham dropping into them as well with his nice link-up play. And Wright just being an utter nuisance to Italy. He's winning free kicks all the time. As soon as the ball comes to him, it sticks. And he almost just like, he looks at an Italian player and goes, right, I'm going to go past you.
Yeah.
And just to go, no matter what, he's going to win a free kick. And it must be so intimidating to know a player is so on his game, and he's just such a frustrating player to play against because he gets kicked all over this game as well.
And it's coming back for more.
Yeah, and he just goes, right, doesn't matter. This is my time. You can see how motivated he is as well because obviously I don't think he's quite won the league yet at Arsenal at this point, but he's kind of in the last stage. I think he's about 33 around this point, so he's surely thinking this is the last chance to play at a World Cup and to be out in the cold for so long, to get a second chance, really.
Yeah. I think when you're younger, it's easy to just look at strikers and see the goals, and that's the only thing that they're defined by. But I think as you get a bit older and like learn a bit more about football, the hold-up play and everything is so crucial. It's why some strikers can not really score that many goals, and they'll just play for years and years and years because they just approach the role differently. Defenders are bullies, and if you've got a striker who can bully them back, that's as good as a goal. And
even if you change and you've got the ability to do that, you look at someone like Benzema, who over the last couple of years has kicked on to a level of like, you know, huge level.
Yeah.
But then like when he was playing with Ronaldo, his role was a lot different in the team. So to just kind of hold that back for so long is just so impressive, really. It makes you appreciate Benzema more. It's all like, well, I could have done all that, but, you know, maybe we wouldn't have won as much.
Love it. Wish he was English. Is it too late?
Is it too late to get him on the bus?
Has he retired from France again?
Again, exactly, yeah. I think there's a whole other thing that's gone on with him, isn't there?
Leave that.
Yeah. But yeah.
England's grit is summed up best perhaps by an incident involving future manager Gareth Southgate.
Yeah. There's a Chiesa runs down the left at Southgate, and Southgate kind of dives in, doesn't win the ball, but immediately it's like a drill almost. It's like on the floor, straight back up again, and immediately wins. It was like a really hard, sterling challenge.
Yes, well done. Italy go on to make their final change just after the hour. Del Piero is brought on for Zola. We've seen bits of Zola, and I always want just a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he scored last time, didn't he? But he wasn't like, you didn't think, wow, this is brilliant from Zola. This game, it was a different kind of game, wasn't it? From then, it was like
he was good, like you're saying, he got the goal, but yeah,
they were sat back. They weren't given the task of creating. But when we have been given the task of creating today. Again, he's not really come up with much. He's had Batty and Ince to play against, and these two really at the peak of their powers. They've just shut him out of the game.
England are kind of just really keeping it on lockdown, and this is where Italy start to get a bit frustrated.
Yeah. They start just collecting needless yellow cards all over the place. This is where they start to like just show their petulant side and push people over, and some late tackles as well, which isn't good. We also get Paul Ince has to come off again for further treatment. Kind of anyone who knows, anything about the imagery of this game will know that it's kind of all this is what it is, isn't it? It's Paul Ince with the headband on, shirt covered in blood, really iconic, like Terry Butcher before him as well when he did the same thing as England captain.
Yeah. We've just got, if you watch the footage of the bandage actually being placed on, at first he's like, yeah, this got serious. And then when the bandage is pretty much on, he's like, I'm getting the bandage.
Oh, this isn't good.
Now he looks like he's happy for it. It's like, this is my moment.
I don't know. I think he's just kind of like, oh, like, when you feel like something's happened and you're like, don't tell me. Is it bad?
Yeah. Maybe a bit of both.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, he's up for it. I mean, to keep having your head looked at and go, I'll keep playing. I'll worry about it later.
Yeah, just stitch it up.
Just let me keep playing a really rough game in the most physical position on the pitch.
Yeah, they're going to aim for that again. Yeah. They're going to do it again. It's happened in this game, hasn't it? And as you say, rough area. Brian Moore says this was never going to be a beautiful game. I think it's been a really interesting game, whether or not like quite beautiful, but it's been brilliantly interesting performance from England. And then
Shearer and Del Piero. He's gone down. The referee looked at it. He's given a yellow card to Del Piero. Well, that was a bold move. My heart went in my mouth when I saw the referee running towards there. And he gives a yellow card to Del Piero for
That's an absolutely brilliant decision. I must admit, I thought it was a stick-on penalty. The first reaction was, don't touch him, please don't touch him. And then I thought they were going to get the penalty. And referee, that is a brilliant decision.
big penalty appeal not given. Oh, in real time, that looks so much like a penalty when they go over. It is terrifying.
Yeah, Campbell wins a long ball against Vieri. Del Piero falls over in the box with Adams' leg sticking out. Adams is nowhere near it, and amazingly, it's not given. Before the game, there was talk in the English press because the Dutch referee said he liked Italian things, including their food.
I mean, who's asking him? Oh, do you like Italy then? Yes. Yeah. What do you like about them? The food? Like why are you asking me this, the son?
You corrupt referee.
Because they mention it quite a lot in the commentary as well about, oh, well, you know, the Dutchman, he's held strong amongst all these rumours that he likes Italy.
Yeah, it's quite a worrying moment, though, isn't it? That don't give away a penalty now.
And again, at real time, Del Piero dives over, and it looks like a penalty. But I was really worried because it's like, oh god, this is before VAR. They're just going to give it, and there's like no way you can look back because VAR has got like its pluses and minuses, but with like blatant dives
when it's your team as well.
Well, as well, that's kind of just out of the game now, isn't it? Where you see less of, I'll try and get away with this. Yeah, because if he gives it. And you got to be booked at the end of the day, so you can't really kid anymore.
That's true. I've never thought of it like that. That was the scourge of the modern game.
Oh, I'd rather you spat on me and spat down my neck and set my giraffe on fire, and then that's it. As long as you don't dive, I'm happy.
Yeah, and now they're not. But
now they're not. So it's just like, oh well, okay, that's not improved the game either.
Still not happy.
No.
England have reason to be happy because the pasta-loving Dutchman is at it again.
Didn't look anything like the threat in the air that he is tonight. Well, he's obviously pumped up because of what it's all about.
Quarter of an hour left, Ron. I say a quarter of an hour left.
Yes, I'm just thinking there, Brian. I know it takes a lot of moral strength and all that, but I hope the England boys, and they've certainly shown enough of it.
Del Piero showing all sorts of things here, but Sol Campbell sticking wonderfully to the job there. And he's gone down. And the yellow card. Well, he's got to go off.
He is.
Olivio's off. That's his second yellow card. So Italy down to 10 men now. It looked a bad foul. Let's look at it again. Oh my goodness, it was a very bad foul. Two-footed, jumping at Sol Campbell.
Tell you what,
that could have snapped his legs.
Sending off in itself.
Could have snapped his legs
That's
easily.
a sending off on its own. Didn't need to be booked twice for that. That's off.
We've got something to talk about now because Italy are down to 10 men.
Yes, he loves it. He loves Italy. He loves pasta. He loves giving red cards to Italians as well.
I swear that's a football song, isn't it? He loves the pizza, he loves the pasta.
Oh, I
I think
didn't
it's a
mean it.
Wolves song, maybe?
I didn't mean it if it was one.
Oh, no, well, there you go. We've got it anyway. He loves the red cards, is what's happened now, and Delivio doesn't know like them.
Sol Campbell wins the ball deep in England's half, clips it over Delivio, who does not like that. He is so late on Campbell, 2-foots him into the air. I mean, you've got to go some 2-foot Sol Campbell into the air.
Yeah.
And it's a second yellow. When it's shown on the replays from the other angle, you see just how far away he is, and it could have been a straight red. I always wonder why they don't just give straight reds more. Quite a big tackle, a real cruncher.
It's a horrible, horrible tackle. You realise how little you see of those kind of tackles today as well, because he's so late as Campbell clips the ball on him, and he's like off the ground, 2-foot studs. I mean, TalkSport would get 3 days out of that tackle today, wouldn't they?
Definitely. The game does continue, though. England played well with 10 men for not long. Italy have got the rest of the game to play with 10 men.
It's about 10 minutes left, I think, so they've got to try and create something. And remember, Italy need to win this as well.
And they actually do start to ramp the pressure up, expecting even more. The crowd are on the backs, even with 10 men. They go much more direct towards Vieri, and Atkinson is surprised at how good Vieri is in the air.
Christian Vieri, this giant, incredible man who is a brilliant header of the ball, and he's like, I watched him once for Atletico, didn't really rate him much. I didn't think he was that good in the air. And I was like, it's the same player we're talking about here.
England are handling it, though. They grow and grow into the game. Campbell is not resting on his laurels, and he's not hurt from that horror tackle. He's just dominating.
He is. And Paul Ince is just incredible in this game as well. It feels like he's in every frame of like the hard cam that's like showing the game, because as soon as it goes into the towards the England goal, he's there defending. If it goes up towards the Italian goal, he's there attacking as well. He's just like on a string back and forth. He's brilliant.
What did you think about when everything was started to the fans are throwing stuff on the pitch, and the commentator is like, "Oh, if this continues, he's gonna have to take all the players off."
I know Brian Moore was practically giddy, because I think if someone's got a corner for England and the Italian fans are throwing stuff on the pitch, and he's just like, "Well, we just got to stop all this, haven't we? Really, this is unacceptable." Like, not mention what the England fans are doing as well.
Yeah, 0-0, that's fine. Wrap it up.
Right, we all done now, are we? Ref, come on! Like, just this isn't acceptable anymore.
We love commentators getting into it, and this pair are really not hiding their allegiances well.
They're not, and there's almost kind of like, there's just something quite nice about where they do it here. Like, I feel like today with I think I've said about when Genius was commentating on the Germany game we did and all that, it was a bit too, I don't know, there was something that was a bit more distasteful than this, which is Brian Moore, where they're kind of like, the way they're talking, him and Atkinson, it's kind of like they're coaching the side. And Atkinson's going, "Oh, just pop a pass, that's it. Nothing, just pass it, just play it simple. Yeah, just string a few passes together. That's what they need to do." It's like
what you mutter to yourself when you're at a game.
Yeah, just terrified what's going to happen. But Atkinson's a coach at this point, and he's like, "Yeah, find a man." It's like, you need to put your mute button on at this point.
Yeah, if this was today, you'd have commentators going, just 5 minutes away from historic Lions roaring in Rome.
Can they hang on? They've done it for so long. Can they do this? And it feels a lot more disingenuous than what they're doing here to me.
Yeah, Atkinson's not trying to get replayed on compilation videos for decades to come, is he?
No, he's avoiding that at all costs.
He's not considered for the role.
No.
5 minutes to go then, and there is a lot of needle in the game, as there always tends to be late on with England versus Italy. Nesta punches Lasso. That's quite a good amount of needle, wouldn't you say? And Lasso almost retaliates with a kick out, but refrains.
Yeah.
Big man.
There's also a scissor tackle on by Southgate on Benevento, who pushes Southgate over, both booked for it too.
Yeah, it's so nervy. Do you think any cards would have carried over to the World Cup?
Yes, I don't think they would have, but whoever is sent off or booked here, if they were on a yellow, they would be out of the playoff game. So I think David Beckham is on a yellow here, and when he kind of is a bit petulant early on, Atkinson's like, well, that's stupid. I think it's more, he knows he's on a yellow card. We could have to go and play in the playoffs, and he'll be out of the game if he's booked.
That is quite stupid.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're kind of like, I'd rather we got through and I was booked. I know it's not like a perfect scenario. Well, I'll take this if we can do this, but still.
Hoddle looks to his subs bench and makes what is his only substitute of the game, bringing Nicky Butt on for the last 2 minutes, replacing Gascoigne.
Yeah, steadied it up now, isn't it? Gaz has kind of like slightly faded out of the game because he's having to do so much defensive work at this point. And Nicky Butt, solid defensive midfielder, bring him on for the last bit.
Yeah, the last bit of normal time, the last 2 minutes of normal time. 3 minutes of injury time are added, and it actually gets to the point where 4 have been played.
Nearly 4 minutes of time added on. Chiesa getting down that line. Don't do anything silly. Benarivo playing it in. And the ball safely in Seaman's hands. And that surely will be the last crisis.
Should all squeeze to the halfway line and get the game right up the field.
Ian Wright going for this one. Ian Wright battling away for this one. Ian Wright might finish it off here. Oh, he's hit the post. Sheringham. And still they couldn't put it in. Oh, my goodness.
And Ian Wright's hit the post. It's one of the strangest looking post-its I've ever seen. Oh, my God. Let's catch our breath.
And we've played, coming towards 5 minutes of time added on. And who knows, it might go to the other end. Oh, and Italy coming away now. Del Piero playing it in there towards Vieri. Oh, my goodness, I thought it had gone in, but it was just a fraction wide. There are players lying all over the field, and Maldini knows that that really is surely the last chance for Italy.
Well, your heart's right in your mouth, didn't you? Their best header of the ball coming in. He stands this ball in brilliantly, Chiesa. And he's coming in at all people. He's coming in to Lasso, and I thought that was in the corner of the net.
So did I. So did I.
Perfect cross there. He's the big man. Oh, fractions.
Take your time now, David Seaman. Oh, we could see the reaction on the bench there. They thought it was in as well. He's surely got to blow his whistle now. Well, I don't believe this. It's England's throw. And it's all over! England have qualified for the World Cup finals in France. A brilliant 0-0 draw here. And great scenes now with Glenn Hoddle. Well, a fantastic performance where England were so bold and so brave and battled so well. A fantastic performance. They've not won here since 1961, but this was as good as a victory. Well, Glenn Hoddle truly elated. Ron Atkinson, a word from you.
Oh, tremendous performance. Tactically aware, brave. Could have won the game with the last kick of the match, and nobody would have deserved that more than Ian Wright. Actually, a triumph. The whole campaign, I think, has been a triumph for Glenn Hoddle.
And his team selection was perfect. The England performance was perfect. And now it's set sail for France. England 0, Italy 0. England qualify for the 1998 World Cup finals.
Oh, I've not caught my breath. I've not caught my breath at all. I wanted to catch my breath after Ian Wright hit the post, and then shit got even more crazy.
But it's done.
But it's done.
But it's done. And we're there in France, 1998. It was perfect. As
Yes.
Brian Moore said, it was perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
No, but that ending, that ending for a start, for a crazy, was it 3 minutes of added on? We're almost into the 5th minute, and David Seaman pumps the ball forward, finds Ian Wright. He goes past the defender, the keeper, the post almost.
Have you ever seen anything like how he hits the post?
No, because he almost kind of like takes his time, steadies him. He's had a really bad angle, in fairness, and he's got an open goal. But kind of how he hits it, it kind of hits it. It almost comes back to him, but like slightly in a different. He goes like to his right and flies into like the path of a defender, basically trying to get back, and then turns around and just heads forward with Italy.
It's like a five-a-side when you're just knackered.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, he didn't look knackered, but like it was just too much, too insane.
but it was also like, you know, when Ronaldinho, like you could imagine him doing that on purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
Like kind of like, well, you know, I'm in training. Let me see if I can just do this. Round the keeper, hit the post, and it goes back to you. I'll pass it to you off the post because it's perfect.
And then straight from that, Italy break.
And nearly score as well themselves. The cross comes in. Vieri rises over everybody, basically. And I think the commentators are both just like, oh, God, I thought that was in. I thought that was in. Because Seaman doesn't even move.
Hoddle, I read in an article yesterday was like basically having a heart attack at that point because he thought it was in. But Seaman said to him, like, I didn't move because it was never going in from where he was standing, which is obviously the vantage point you want.
It's probably a foot wrong of the side, isn't it? Or maybe a bit less than a foot, but it goes past the post. And
if you're watching that game live in 1997, you're just going to go, oh my God.
Yeah, you just think that's in.
Yeah, and it wasn't. And as you say, we're going to France 1998. England have qualified for a World Cup. And not against all odds, but it's a real surprising performance.
Yeah, it's also seen as England's one of their best performances and results ever, whether inside or outside of a major tournament.
Yeah, it's Italy, and they had got to the final of the previous World Cup, right?
They had indeed in USA, yeah.
So they're going to be one of the favourites going into this. You're away, you've got a young squad. You've experimented with Matt Le Tissier first time round, and that didn't work. And you haven't got your main man. Paulins breaks his skull after 10 minutes and plays the rest of the game. But they've done it on their own terms, haven't they, as well? They've done it with young players and like people like Ian Wright as well in there. And there's so much baggage around it, but it's all kind of positive, uplifting baggage.
And it's not like you would see like a Mourinho team go to Barcelona and kind of upset the game and delay time. There was actually none of that. Like the only bit really where England are holding on is like the last 10, 15, like 5 minutes maybe, I'd say. And the rest of the game, England are in the game. They're playing their own football. They're doing it on their own terms in terms of their style of play as well. They're not wasting time. And they're just going, we're going to come to your gaff and we're going to play our way. And we're going to show you that we know what we've got to do. If we needed to go out there and score, you never know what would have happened, but it stayed in their own. They kept it in their own hands basically by playing so well.
I've got some comments and sort of reports from the full-time whistle and the jubilation around there. Ian Wright is overcome by emotion, ripping off his shirt and yelling, "I'm going to the World Cup, I'm going to the World Cup." Paul Ince would say, Ian Wright was crying with joy and he made me want to cry too. I've played in cup finals and in big European matches, but this was right up there with anything I've achieved. Possibly the greatest moment of my career. Graham Lasso said, we had to practically strap Wrighty down. He was jumping around everywhere, but Tony Adams was the exact opposite, as calm as ever. For Gareth Southgate, who obviously, missed the decisive penalty in the Euro 96 semi-final, he said, that was the low point in my England career, but it makes me appreciate the good times even more, and they don't come much better than this. Do you want to know what Gascoigne said?
Oh, go on then, yeah.
I'll kill Glenn Hoddle if he doesn't pick me for the World Cup.
Was this after the game?
After the game, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He said, but who knows? There are so many good young players around who will be even better next year, challenging for my place. When I left Italy in 1990 after the World Cup defeat by Germany, I was in tears. Now I'm full of smiles and I'm going to enjoy myself. Right now I'm walking around with my chest out. I've known the bad times, but these are the good times.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean... He said, I'm going to go out and enjoy myself.
It's worrying, isn't it?
He said he'd kill Glenn Hoddle if he didn't pick him. Ian Wright there we've spoken about as well. Just reading all of that reaction, it made me think of just how sad it is that Saka missed the decisive penalty for England. Because he's that kind of Ian Wright, the guy who just everyone loves to be around in the current England squad. But anyway, back to 1997. England go through top of the group despite not scoring a goal against Italy in either of the two games they played them against.
Madness.
Real quiz.
That is indeed, isn't it? But England had such a good defensive record. I think they conceded against Italy, and I think they only conceded in the home game against Poland. Every other game, I think, is a clean sheet. And you just go, that is organisation. That is kind of taking good flair players and making them work in a not defensive situation, but they're being organised as well. Like you said, the celebrations are amazing. Gazza is just kind of leading the England players around the pitch, just arms in the air, big English dancing. And as you said as well, Ian Wright pretty much is like saying to Glenn Hoddle in the interview, just please take me, Glenn, please.
There's a bit more reaction actually, which I've found that's quite interesting. This is from the Italian media. Gazzetta dello Sport, their reaction to the game was, our courage was drowned in a sea of impotence. Thank God parachutes are available. We are all terribly disillusioned, but the truth is, for the first time in years, Italy are inferior to England. Corriere dello Sport say it was a team incapable of understanding how to attack or defend. We have a right to be bitter. We fielded a team broken in pieces against a real football team. It is incredible that our Azzurri played without the spirit seen in a Sunday Park side. So measured.
Measured and like uncharacteristically full of praise as well. Like I think it's Gazzetta are very like.
I was joking about measured. I think they're being a bit harsh on their own team.
Well, no, I think they're more just very like so impressed with England actually, and I don't think any of it is kind of just saying it to be mean to their own side. I think England were the better side in that game as well.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the studio. Venables is purring. He loves a purr in the studio, doesn't he?
Whether it's a good or a bad purr, whether he's like being smug about it or just pleased.
And Ladbrokes would go straight in and place England as third favourites to win the World Cup at 7-1.
I mean, come on, lads. I mean, I think Wilson actually cuts to Venables and said, well, Ladbrokes have put him on a 7 to 1.
Yeah, how much did Ladbrokes pay for that promotion?
Who handed him that bit of paper?
Absolutely. Sir John Ladbroke. Yes, but I suppose they've just not beaten, but like they've qualified over Italy.
I think as well. I think maybe some of the South American side hadn't qualified so far. I want to say. So I think it was France who'd already qualified because they were hosts. Brazil had already qualified through their qualifying. Maybe I think of the ones who'd done it from the European side, I think England would have been one of the favourites, definitely.
Do we want to move on to the aftermath? Is there any more jubilation or comments about the jubilation that you have?
That's kind of it, really. One thing I noted from the interviews afterwards is Glenn Hoddle said, it's been so long since England were at a World Cup that it really feels special and England need to be at World Cups. He also thanked the players that weren't there, which I thought was a nice touch too. Saying, the guys that have got us here this far as well. It's not just the guys who are here on the pitch and with the team. It's the guys at home too, which I thought was nice.
A nice touch?
Yeah.
Who said he had an ego?
I know, yeah. He has a heart.
He has a heart. Yeah, and the celebrations are really beautiful. It's just, again, it's the young manager thing as well, isn't it? Like, it does feel like, Christ, imagine how exciting it would have been to have been an England fan after this game.
Yeah, definitely. And the possibilities as well. Yeah. And I'm starting to get why this England team is so liked and revered by people kind of older than us as well.
Yeah. It's a long road ahead of them.
Yeah, well, that road leads to France, though. That's the big point. We've already won one trophy in France. What more do you want?
Would Italy manage to get there? So they were resigned to the playoffs. And as we mentioned, without the seeding, it's quite a risky playoff scenario. They were drawn against Russia, which would be one of the teams I would prefer to have faced from the list we said earlier at the top of the show.
Yeah, they'd be in your top 5, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Italy first travelled to Russia, drawing in Moscow following Vieri's opener and Cannavaro's own goal. So at least they're scoring all the goals. But the real story came when Gianluigi Buffon came on for the injured Pagliuca and kept Italy in the game with some brilliant saves in the Moscow snow. Bright young lad with a long future ahead of him.
Yeah, we mentioned his regen, Donnarumma, haven't we?
Very true. Russia then travelled to Naples, knowing they had to score due to Italy's away goal. Oh, do you remember the away goal?
Oh, I loved an away goal, mate.
I actually love the away goal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like that they've taken it away. It's disgusting.
And what does anything mean anymore? We read the away goal. Nothing. It's all equal, is it?
Don't think so.
Just play it in space then. The tie was settled by Pierluigi Casaragi's goal, sending Italy to France.
So they're there as well.
And England go on to be 4th favourites.
Yes.
despite Italy going through the playoffs. So England go to the World Cup as group winners and would draw Tunisia, Romania and Colombia in the group stage. Now that is, I would call that a gimme.
A gimme, yes. I think,
on paper.
Yes, on paper, obviously. Tunisia and Colombia... Probably not. Colombia had done really well in previous tournaments and they were quite a fancied side, but a lot of those players had gone by the wayside. Tunisia not really done something in a tournament. Romania, very good around this point. So you probably go, England should get through, especially from what we've seen so far in the qualifying.
Two of the big stars of today's show, Ian Wright and Paul Gascoigne, did not make it to the play. So Ian Wright, who screamed at the camera after qualifying, "I'm going to the World Cup," and Paul Gascoigne, who said, "I'll kill him if he doesn't pick me." He didn't take either of them.
No.
That is big balls move.
It's ruthless, isn't it? And something we have seen from Hoddle, once he's made a decision, that's it. He's sticking with it. And he for the good of the team, for his own ego, whatever you think it is, he's making the decisions and he's sticking by them.
I feel like sometimes he just makes a decision to make a decision, though.
Yeah.
To create a story.
I think with these two, they're both different of why he didn't take them. So on paper, monumentally harsh to not take Ian Wright. But Wright would leave Arsenal in the summer of '98 for West Ham after not featuring for the latter part of Arsenal's title-winning season. So Ian Wright kind of is on the way down, but you think for England, would he just I've got that last little bit in him.
Would you say that Michael Owen took his space?
You'd probably say so, yeah, to be that kind of player, really. And Michael Owen emerged in this season and broke out, and he was just an absolute must-take.
Yeah, but Ian Wright, man.
Are they too similar? Because remember, you've got Shearer to come back at this point, and you've got Sheringham as well. I think Les Ferdinand. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but you've got Fowler, Dublin, a lot of really good players. I think we'll get to the France '98 games because I think every England game is so interesting to kind of watch and cover as well. So we'll get to the squad and why. But yeah, Wright's kind of out for Owen.
I feel sorry for Wright.
Yeah,
well, but
massively.
We all do. What about Gaza then? Did he spoil it for himself, I'm guessing, maybe?
Maybe. So in March '98, Gaza moved from Rangers to First Division Middlesbrough, playing 7 games as he helped Brian Robson's side gain promotion to the Premier League. He played with Paul Merson, who did go to the World Cup, despite playing in the second tier as well. So you can't really use that as an excuse either.
Hang on, what's the timeline with Ian Wright then? So had he just won the title?
Ian Wright had just won the title, then left Arsenal to West Ham.
So he left Arsenal in the summer when the World Cup was.
Yes.
So they've won the title.
Yeah.
And Ian Wright's been there.
Yeah.
But Paul Merson,
he's
playing
going
in the second tier.
Yeah.
And he's going ahead of him.
Must be just how good he was, but I guess he's that kind of creative player. We were saying maybe he misses out because maybe he goes instead of Gascoigne.
Oh, could you imagine that?
Well,
today?
Scholes is the one that's there, but you kind of go, well, yeah, if it's Merson who's got promoted with them. I mean, you hear the stories about Gascoigne and Merson. They lived with each other when they played in Middlesbrough as well. So it's like, but like you say, Gaza didn't really help himself because a week before Hoddle picked his squad, Gaza was pictured with DJ Chris Evans late at night eating kebabs.
How many kebabs? Like multiple kebabs?
Must have been a lot. I mean,
this one's lamb, this one's chicken, this one's chicken tikka.
Well, I imagine they were quite drunk as well. And I think Hoddle kind of talks about how shocked he was when they were in the training camp of how drunk Gaza was getting as well. So this must have been a decision in him not taking him.
That's fair enough, really.
Yeah, and really, you think, what could have Gaza have done in this tournament? If maybe he comes on in a few games and can maybe change it, but is this even the same poor Gascoigne? Because it's really dropping off a cliff here. And as you mentioned, Gaza doesn't really react very well to the news that he's not being taken.
No, he smashes his office up, doesn't he?
He
smashes Hoddle's office up. I mean, I can't imagine ever being sort of angry enough to smash up a room. But like, even after a couple of bits, it's a lot of effort, and you've made your point, haven't you? Like, do you just going for like, oh, that plug socket?
Yeah.
Oh, that cup over there. Give me that bin. I'm going to turn it upside down. What else have you got? A keyboard.
I'd have loved to have seen what that room was like. Like, was he the last one he called in as well? Like,
I think he was, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, probably because he was like, well, he's going to take this awfully, so
Yeah.
I better like do him last. But imagine if you were the other person going, right, you're not. Don't look at that. Gaz has smashed everything up. Well, by the way, this isn't going to be good news for you either.
Yeah. The first article I looked for, the first article I came across when looking to try and find out a bit more. I'm not going to search any further, but it's called "Not Taking Gaza: The Greatest Mistake in English Football." That seems, yeah.
I mean, but we remember how good he was today. Are we looking at it through that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's even included in the song "Gaza," good as before.
Oh, there we go. The game's so good that a song was made specifically for that reason.
Regenerated for it.
Yeah. Well, there's only one question left, really. Was this England?
It was so professional from England, unlike a lot of England that we've seen before. So no, I don't think this was England, but it was almost right at the end with the missed chances. That was almost very England.
Yeah. I would class this as one of those games that lives outside the England, almost like it's just what England could be.
It's not canon.
It's not canon. It's too good. It's like Germany in the Euros.
Yeah.
And there's a few, I can't think of them there.
It's kind of outside of our remit, isn't it?
yeah, it's really good. And there is elements of England in there, but it's truly like the best 5% of England.
Yeah, definitely. That's why these games are so rare.
And it's like if we could, exactly, rare. If we could be consistent with this type of performance and result, there'd be no fun in this podcast, really,
No,
because we'd
not
just be
at
going,
all.
look at how many England times England have won the World Cup.
Yeah, this is what, like, is this Germany is like?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I don't want to think about that rubbish. Well done, Glenn Hoddle. Well done, England. And we're looking forward to the World Cup 98 when we get there.
Yeah.
And we're getting quite a nice linear plot through with Hoddle's England. Anyway, Nick, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, and thank you, listeners.
Brilliant. Take care.
You may be a stranger, that's what time can do.